Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be checking out some very cool battles in the Open Master League featuring an XL level 50 GUZZLORD. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, so many thanks for the battle submission. XL GUZZLORD is a Dragon and Dark type Pokemon with the moveset of Dragon Tail, Dragon Claw, and Brutal Swing, and this trainer pairs it up with a double Legacy Mewtwo on the lead and a Hurricane Yveltal on the safe switch. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out XL GUZZLORD in action in the Master League. Hopping to the first match, picking up a pretty neutral lead Mewtwo into Dialga. With two Dark types in the back, however, he will need to save switch out of this matchup at some point to check and see if the opponent has a Fairy type lurking in the back. Dialga strikes first with the Iron Head. Mewtwo is going to commit the shield, building up past a potential Focus Blast, going for the Side Strike. Dialga does not respect the potential Focus Blast. Mewtwo is going to fire off another charge move. Side Strike is going to grab a shield, and we do see the save switch into Yveltal. Yveltal going for the Dark Pulse, but the opponent makes a beautiful catch, catching the Dark Pulse onto their Zacian. Honestly, this is pretty good. Able to bait out the Zacian, so that way GUZZLORD will not have to face it in the end game. Yveltal is going for the Hurricane. This will do a ton of damage if it lands, which it does, getting that Zacian quite low. Zacian farms up a ton of energy, and they're going to be firing off the Play Rough here. Play Rough is going to be lethal, and back in comes Mewtwo. Mewtwo able to win CMP over Zacian and deny Zacian's energy. Zacian is so low HP that they're just going to let it go. They bring back in Dialga. Dialga is met with GUZZLORD. This is enough for the Draco Meteor. GUZZLORD respects it. It's the Draco Meteor. In the back is Mewtwo. Oh my goodness. And if this is a double Legacy Mewtwo, then they're going to get absolutely destroyed by GUZZLORD. GUZZLORD lands the Brutal Swing. Question is, what is Mewtwo's second charge move? And it's Shadow Ball. They're a double Legacy Mewtwo, so GUZZLORD can comfortably farm down. They're going to reach a second Shadow Ball. That is going to get the GUZZLORD low, but GUZZLORD leaves with a ton of energy. GUZZLORD going to fire off the Dragon Claw to get the shield. And then GUZZLORD will be able to reach the Brutal Swing. This is going to do more damage than the Dragon Claw. Brutal Swing taking out the Dialga. And that is a good game. Same leads in the next match, Mewtwo into Dialga. My guess is he's going to play this out a very similar way. Play out the ones and then try and save switch into Yveltal to check and see if the opponent has a Fairy type like Zacian in the back, building up to a potential Focus Blast and able to grab a shield from Dialga on CMP. Mewtwo is going to shield back, as Iron Head would do a lot of damage here. Mewtwo can overfarm quite a bit in this matchup, builds up to the back-to-back Side Strikes, but the opponent makes a beautiful catch, catching the Side Strike onto Mewtwo. Bad news for the Mewtwo though, it is now GUZZLORD time, and GUZZLORD is at a very nice spot here. Mewtwo goes for the Side Strike, so they are running double Legacy moves, and they get absolutely crushed by GUZZLORD. GUZZLORD tanks a second Side Strike. GUZZLORD farms all the way down and leaves with so much energy. Opponent's going to send back in Dialga, and GUZZLORD is going to start to spam out these Brutal Swings, trying to do as much chip damage as possible to the Dialga. Brutal Swing number 2 onto the Dialga, starting to get it low. Dialga continues to farm, and GUZZLORD able to reach a Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw gets the shield. Dialga going for the farm down, and they get it, but Mewtwo denies the energy by winning CMP with the Side Strike. That's massive. Down goes Dialga. In the back is Zacian, and that is a good game. Picking up a pretty decent lead in the next match, Mewtwo into Ursaluna. Mewtwo does significantly outpace Ursaluna in this matchup, which is quite nice, and Mewtwo can threaten a one-shot with a Focus Blast to try and grab a shield. Mewtwo did build up to the Focus Blast and is able to grab a shield from Ursaluna. Mewtwo going straight for the Side Strike, no baiting here, and the opponent is going to let that through, but that does quite a bit of damage. Ursaluna is going to fire back. Mewtwo lets it go. It is just a Thunder Punch. Mewtwo continuing to farm. Opponent goes for a catch onto Lugia, but he reads the opponent like a book and responds with his Yveltal. Yveltal very close to the back-to-back Dark Pulses, firing off the first move into the Lugia. Lugia tanks it, farms up, and Lugia loses CMP. This Dark Pulse will KO the Lugia, so they're forced to burn their final shield. Tough decision here. This could be an Arrow Blast, last second shield, and unfortunately it's baited with the Sky Attack. This can only be a Sky Attack though, so he can pretty safely no-shield this, and then overfarm with his Yveltal if he wants to. Yveltal, farm it up, goes for the Dark Pulse, but the opponent makes a very nice catch. Opponent is able to catch onto Ursaluna and save their Lugia for later. Lugia may be able to get the farm down here, but it's going to be close. In comes Lugia. They do not want to risk a farm down. They're going to fire off their energy, and honestly, that works out pretty nicely. Sending in GUZZLORD. GUZZLORD farming up, going for the Dragon Claw, but loses CMP to Lugia. That is unfortunate. Sky Attack would do quite a bit of damage. GUZZLORD not the tankiest in the Master League. GUZZLORD fires off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw is going to KO in the back. The opponent has a Mud Shot Garchomp, and this should be game over. This Dragon Claw will get it into Psy Strike range, and Mewtwo has the Psy Strike loaded. Garchomp has to fire off the big move to KO here. Garchomp goes for the Outrage, taking out the GUZZLORD, but Mewtwo has the Psy Strike loaded and will avenge the GUZZLORD, taking out the Garchomp and securing the win. Picking up a pretty nice lead in the next match, Mewtwo into Dragonite, and typically Dragonite is paired with Metagross, which the backline handles very nicely. Mewtwo gonna massively overfarm, go for the Psy Strike, but the opponent makes an incredible catch, catching the Psy Strike onto their Metagross. Bad news for the opponent though, Metagross is going to be met with Yveltal, and Yveltal is able to outpace in this matchup, so this matchup is very tough for Metagross. Metagross is going to commit a shield, opponent trying to get shields down. Yveltal is going to be able to commit the shield on the Meteor Mash, overfarm, and still manage to outpace the Metagross. This Dark Pulse will of course be lethal. Metagross committing the final shield. They are trying to get shields down and potentially looking to stall the clock here. Yveltal is going to commit the final shield. Yveltal continues to farm. Opponent is going to switch back into the Dragonite and fire off a charge move. They go for the Dragon Claw. That's not going to KO, and Yveltal will get to land the Hurricane. This is going to do a lot of damage onto the Dragonite as it gets the Dragonite close to the red. In comes GUZZLORD. GUZZLORD gets the farm down. Does the opponent bring in the Metagross? They do not. They bring in their final Pokemon, which is Dialga, and this is quite scary because Dialga should be able to farm GUZZLORD all the way down, and then Dialga is going to be able to leave with energy to threaten either the Mewtwo or the Yveltal. Brutal swing onto Dialga, does get the Dialga low. Mewtwo does have some energy. The question is, does Dialga go for the Iron Head or do they try for the Draco Meteor? In comes Mewtwo. Mewtwo able to win CMP over Dialga. That is massive. This Psy Strike is going to KO. Opponent still has the Metagross to switch into Yveltal. Tried to catch, but unfortunately the opponent holds on to their energy, and the opponent will be able to take this game. They go for the Earthquake BM, and that is a good game. Mirror match in the next game, Mewtwo into Shadow Mewtwo. He will probably be looking to switch out of this lead at some point, but to start, he's going to stay in and go straight for the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball does get shielded by the opponent, and we see a save switch into Yveltal. Opponent is going to respond with a Shadow Tyranitar, and he's going to fake the Focus Blast, really needing to get this final shield, and he does. That is huge. Tyranitar is going to fire off a charge move, as they don't want to get hit by a Focus Blast. They go for the Crunch, and able to reach a last-second Hurricane. Hurricane is resisted, but will get some chip damage onto the Shadow Tyranitar. Shadow Tyranitar is quite scary for this team, and now in comes GUZZLORD. GUZZLORD looking for the farm down. GUZZLORD is going to commit the shield here, as Tyranitar does have enough for the Stone Edge. They go straight for it. They're going to switch back in the Shadow Mewtwo. Shadow Mewtwo is going to go for the Focus Blast. GUZZLORD commits the shield. GUZZLORD has so much energy loaded. GUZZLORD fires off the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing lands, gets the Mewtwo low. Mewtwo will reach a last-second Psy Strike. Psy Strike not going to be nearly enough to KO, as GUZZLORD does get the farm down. Opponent still does have the very low health Tyranitar in the back, and we'll have to see what their final Pokemon is. Opponent sends it in, and it is Garchomp. Garchomp not going to appreciate these Dragon Claws. Dragon Claw number 1, able to land, switching in the Mewtwo. Mewtwo going for the Psy Strike, but a beautiful catch by the opponent, catching the Psy Strike onto the Shadow Tyranitar. Very nicely done. Back in comes Garchomp. Garchomp gonna fire off a charge move. Garchomp needing this move to KO. Outrage barely does not, and Mewtwo will be able to clinch it. Psy Strike will be taking care of the Garchomp, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match as we lead into another Mewtwo mirror. Same plan as before, gonna stay in this matchup to start, but will eventually look to try and make a catch onto one of the back 2 Pokemon, since he does have 2 significantly better answers to their lead. Opponent goes straight for the Shadow Ball, so that's a big shield, and he's gonna return the favor, going for the Shadow Ball. No baits here, and the opponent will commit the shield. He's gonna farm up to the Shadow Ball, switch, and make a beautiful catch, catching a move onto Yveltal. Opponent did bait with a Psy Strike. They're gonna stay in, farm up some energy for later, and then send in Zacian. Very nice to bait out the Zacian, and here's where Hurricane is incredibly clutch. Hurricane able to do a ton of damage onto Zacian. Zacian is gonna fire off a charge move. From this range, Play Rough should be lethal. Play Rough is gonna KO, and in comes Mewtwo. Mewtwo will be able to massively overfarm in this matchup and go for the Psy Strike, which is gonna KO. Psy Strike is gonna be able to take them out. He's looking to try and switch, farms up, and makes another catch, catching onto GUZZLORD. You love to see it. GUZZLORD tanking that Psy Strike like it's nothing. Opponent is gonna farm up, bank some energy, and send in Exca. Exca will be met with Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing is going to do some solid chip damage, and it looks like a second Brutal Swing will come close to KOing. At the very least, it will get Exca deep into the red. Exca fires off the Drill Run, and an immediate Brutal Swing from GUZZLORD. This Brutal Swing is going to get Exca quite low. Exca not enough to KO, as Exca reaches the last second charge move here. Drill Run is able to land. In comes Mewtwo. Mewtwo does get the Psycho Cut down, going straight for the Shadow Ball, but loses CMP. Honestly, this is pretty close to Psy Strike range. Gonna fire off the Shadow Ball. Opponent going to be committing their final shield here, and then it's going to be a race. Can he get to the move? He does get to the Psy Strike. Psy Strike will be enough to take out the opponent, and that is a good game. Great lead in the next match, Mewtwo into Togekiss. With 2 dark types in the bag, this is exactly where he needs to see the Charmer. He's going to farm up with Mewtwo and then go for the Psy Strike. This will do quite a bit of damage if it lands. Opponent is going to commit the shield. Opponent continues to farm. They save switch into Dialga. He banks the Psy Strike for later and sends in Yveltal. Yveltal does not fake a Focus Blast here, so Dialga is going to be letting this through because Dialga knows it is just going to be the Dark Pulse. Dialga does have quite a bit of energy. He needs to keep switch here. He commits the shield, and that proves to be a very good idea as Dialga is running Thunder. He's going to farm up to 1.5 Dark Pulses and then go for the kill shot onto Dialga, hoping that he overfarmed enough to reach the Hurricane. Togekiss is able to get the farm down as he falls just short of the Hurricane. Back in comes Mewtwo. Mewtwo firing off the Psy Strike. Psy Strike is going to get Togekiss low. In the back is Giratina Origin. Get absolutely walled by GUZZLORD. GUZZLORD is going to be firing off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw able to land, and from here, GUZZLORD can probably just commit to the farm down and leave with some energy. Togekiss does not have a lot of HP remaining, so if you can leave with energy on GUZZLORD, that should basically be game over. Giratina goes for the Shadow Ball. GUZZLORD does not care. GUZZLORD going for the Brutal Swing onto Togekiss. Is this going to be enough damage? Yes, it is! And that is a good game. Hopping into the final match, leading Mewtwo into Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh, always a scary Pokemon to see, because it only has nuke charge moves, so it outputs a tremendous amount of damage. Mewtwo going for the Psy Strike right off the bat, and we see an immediate shield from Ho-Oh. This is enough for the Sacred Fire. Sacred Fire would do a ton of damage. Mewtwo commits the shield, and it is the Sacred Fire. Thankfully, Mewtwo does not get debuffed by the Sacred Fire, and is going to launch Psy Strike number 2. This is going to land. Ho-Oh will outpace to the second move by a single turn. This Brave Bird would KO. Mewtwo commits the shield. Ho-Oh is going to save switch into Dialga, and Dialga will be met with a Shadow Ball. This Shadow Ball will not be lethal, but it will get it into Dark Pulse range for Yveltal. Yveltal will outpace the Dialga and apply a lot of pressure here. Dialga has to give up the final shield if they want to keep their Dialga alive, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Dialga is going to launch the Draco Meteor. This will easily KO Yveltal, and now that their attack is lowered, in comes GUZZLORD. GUZZLORD gonna fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw is being undercharged. GUZZLORD wants some extra farm. Dragon Claw not enough to KO, but the undercharge allows Dialga to reach a last second Iron Head. This is debuffed, but taking that damage definitely hurts. In comes Ho-Oh. GUZZLORD, farm it up. GUZZLORD is going to undercharge this Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw, not enough to KO. Opponent denies the farm, and they're going to send in Giratina. Giratina forced to fire off a charge move, and this should hopefully allow Mewtwo to reach a Shadow Ball. In comes Mewtwo. This is going to be close. Mewtwo wins CMP over the Giratina. That is massive. Shadow Ball onto Giratina is enough to KO. Mewtwo Psycho cuts down, and against all odds, secures the win. And now some final thoughts on Master League GUZZLORD. First off, it's incredibly cool to see this Pokemon in the Master League. In terms of functionality, its lack of bulk definitely does hold it back from true Master League relevance, as it ends up feeling like a bit more of a meme pick than meta. However, it is absolutely incredible to watch Double Legacy Mewtwo and Giratina get absolutely walled. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.